If we turn our backs and spit in his face, is God still gonna bless the USA?
In the early 20th century, researchers began studying the strange behavior of crowds. That is, how they move, think, and react almost as one. One observer wrote that a crowd can be turned like a flock of birds, sudden, coordinated, and without explanation. He explained that the key lay in the subtle shaping of attention, emotion, and impulse by suggestion. He said, if you can guide what a crowd notices, you can guide what a crowd thinks. That idea fascinated a young immigrant named Edward Bernays, who would one day harness psychology, mass persuasion, and media strategy to shape entire generations. Bernays understood something profound and dangerous. The battle for the heart often begins in the shadows of the mind. Greetings, Patriots. I'm Perry Greene, and this is God in America, where we remember the foundations of faith and the pillars of freedom that made this nation strong. Edward Bernays was the nephew of Sigmund Freud. He brought Freud's ideas about the subconscious into the public sphere, shaping advertising, political messaging, and even foreign policy. He believed that people are not rational, they're driven by desires. If you understand those desires, he said, you can control their choices. During World War I, he helped craft propaganda campaigns for the U.S. government. Afterward, he renamed propaganda public relations and used those techniques in the corporate, political, and media worlds. He engineered demand for products, shaped public opinion, and created entire cultural trends. Here are 3 examples. He made cigarettes socially acceptable for women by branding them torches of freedom. He promoted bacon and eggs as the all-American breakfast. He wrote Propaganda and the Engineering of Consent, 2 books that still are used in marketing and political strategy today. Bernays shaped the tools modern society uses to form opinions, create cravings, and steer public behavior. He didn't want citizens, he wanted consumers. He didn't want thinkers, he wanted responders. And that's why his influence is both profound and troubling. Early Americans understood that freedom requires discernment. The founders believed a republic could survive only if people could think for themselves, debate ideas openly, and understand virtue and truth, and avoid being swayed by emotional manipulation. John Adams wrote that a constitution of government once changed from freedom can never be restored. It can only be supported by a moral and religious people. George Washington cautioned against the impostures of pretended patriotism, that is, false messages dressed as truth. The founders feared the tyranny of the sword, but Bernays represented the tyranny of persuasion, the quiet manipulation of the mind that we have witnessed in real time over the past few years, if we've had eyes to see and ears to hear. A free nation cannot remain free if the people are controlled without knowing they are regulated. Bernays believed in shaping culture through subtle deception. His worldview clashes directly with the biblical worldview. Christ calls us to shape culture through visible truth. Notice these examples. Scripture calls us to truth. Jesus said, if you abide in my word, you are my disciples indeed, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Scripture warns about manipulation. Beware lest anyone cheat you through philosophy and empty deceit, Paul said. Scripture calls believers to test everything. John said, test the spirits to see whether they are from God. And Scripture teaches us to renew our minds in Romans 12, verse 2, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Manipulated people cannot be free people. A deceived nation cannot be a righteous nation. As Christians and patriots, we respond by guarding our minds. Not every message that sounds good is valid. Not every trend is harmless. Not every emotional appeal is honest. Do your research. We also seek the truth, not trends. Measure every message against Scripture. We teach the next generation to think critically. There's a difference between learning and thinking. We can learn enough to regurgitate facts on a test without critical thinking. Our children must learn to test everything and try the spirits. We must live as people of light. Truth is our weapon. Integrity is our influence. Character is our testimony. Edward Bernays helped shape a world in which deception becomes persuasion and emotions replace discernment. But God calls his people to the wisdom to stand firm, think clearly, and build a republic rooted in truth, virtue, and faith. May we be a people of truth, people of courage, and people who guard our hearts and minds as we stand for God and America. Until next time, remain vigilant, remain prayerful, and remain anchored in the truth, and keep the light of discerning that truth burning.